Now, for those who are not in on it, what was the essence of the style of play you wanted to achieve?
Listen, it wasn't as there was a few simple things in it. So there was like we did hit a lot of direct ball, a small bit of run in it, holding possession, but it was not major. There was changes in it probably that the Clare public wouldn't have liked at the start and things like that. But I think it was essential for our team to use them because we were so young and things like that. And as we were along, they were getting used to it. Took a while, so it did. But when you start to win a few matches, it got a bit easier and they got behind the team a bit more. And that gave the team confidence going forward.
Ger, when you saw them playing this style, starting in the league, what did you think?
Well, I knew from the start what Davy was trying to do, but I also understood the frustrations of Clare people because we have always kind of thing, when you get the ball, like, let it go, get it into the full forward line. That has always been the basis of Clare hurling, and I suppose down through the years, and even when we were there, the three of us were together there in the 90s, it was always based on moving the ball as quickly as possible. Now, not with the greatest effect at all the time. So I could see what Davy was doing, and to change something, you need to exaggerate what you're doing at the start. So really what was, the passing was kind of, it looked as if it was exaggerated. And Davy had to coach from the sideline, and some people in the crowd were shouting, "Will you let it go?" You had all this thing, when you were in the crowd, you hear this thing going on. And I understood that it was going to take time for this for this style to develop. I didn't think at the start, to tell you the truth now, Ger, I couldn't see it being as effective as it was in September. The great thing was, of course, Clare got such a long run, after being beaten by Cork in the Munster semi-final, then went into the playoffs. Now, I thought one of the best displays Clare gave was actually against Laois. They scored 132. I was at that game, and the movement that day, I said, this is definitely the way forward. And that was only the first game after they'd been beaten, and there weren't very many people there that day. And I think that was one of the days when Davy or some of the boys, Louis, I think, got a bit of abuse from some people in the crowd. But it was brilliant. Backs, I think nearly everybody scored that day against Laois. And I could see this, I said, this has definitely a future. Not ever thinking that it would have, that they'd reached the destination in September, because that was, beyond all our expectations, that a team so young, developing a new style, would prove to be so successful before the year was out. And I think that's what made the year so magical in the end, that they did reach the destination so quickly.
One of the peculiarities of the league, of course, the fact that there are just 6 teams in Division 1A, you ended up in the relegation playoff match, again with Cork, and this time in Limerick it went to extra time.
Yeah, I suppose going into the last game, we could have been in a semi-final. Like, there was nothing between it. The league was exceptional. Like, all the games are tight. I think bar the last one with Tipperary, where I felt we had, after playing 3 or 4 savage games in a row, and we were just asking a small bit too much, and we had beaten Tip in the Waterford Crystal. So they were gunning for us below, which wasn't a bad thing either. They gave us a good lesson that day. But it was so tight, Ger, and we ended up meeting Cork, and Cork could have easily, I think Kilkenny beat them 2 points in the league as well, in a very good game that I watched a few times afterwards, and that could have gone anywhere. So with a small bit of luck, ourselves Cork could have been in the semi-final, but we ended up in the relegation playoff, and that was some game. There was scores going over from every angle, so it was just crazy. So it was, and I remember thinking we were 2 or 3 points down with about a minute or 2 left, and I remember I was just going to say to Tony Kelly, just tell him relax. I didn't need to. Tony Kelly was getting on to the boys, just, we'll get our chance, we'll get there. And that was the players themselves doing that. I was about to say it, but that was their attitude in the field, and they picked off 2 points in about a minute. So they didn't panic, they weren't going for goals, which I was delighted to see that, because there was good composure there. We have this thing in the team that we'll play everything out to the very last whistle if we can, and that was fantastic to see that there. And that victory, that was a massive one as well for us.
And it turned out as well, so like the All Islands afterwards, so early in the year. Looking back now, it was so similar. I think over 30 points scored, maybe 32 points scored with extra time and all, over 20 wides there that day. It was such a spectacular game of such quality scores, such movement in the game. 2 points down, as Davy says, with time almost up. Clare drawing the game, then goes into extra time, and Clare kind of pull away and win by a few points in the end. But the style of play was just so similar to what happened later on 4 or 5 months later in September. Not that any of us thought on that evening that these two teams would meet again in the All-Ireland. If anybody had asked you that evening coming out, they'd say, listen, you're crazy. But it's just amazing like how things have done.
One of the striking things with that year was the dominance in extra time of the Clare halfbacks. And that seemed to continue to the All-Ireland night, didn't it?
That's right. It's
could
such a
never
similarity that way.
come to terms with Clare on that side of the patch of the park. Like Clare just took over there at certain times.
And as well as that, the refusal of Clare to panic, kind of, even when they were the 2 points down, you know, and most people had said the game was gone. There was no sign of panic. They didn't lose their shape. They just kept playing the same way as they had played right from the start. Drew the game and then went on, and as Daly said, dominated completely from half back and went on and won the game.
So the thing against Cork though is like, we know when we play them, it's going to be hurling flat out. Like there won't be much physicality in it, I'll be honest. We know that it's going to be man for man, score for score. Like that's the way it's probably going to be when you play them. Such as there might be other teams and they'll crowd the middle and they'll try and stop you, they'll try and break down your movement, whereas Cork will be very confident that they can out-hurl you on. And we knew that playing them that there's going to be serious scores in this, and that's a fantastic way. And I think when you see the All-Irelands at the end, you'd say what hurling games that's what they're talking, but that's what Cork and Clare ended up doing, both playing just hurling non-stop, you know.
You mentioned...
It's been totally hidden, of course, because of the fact that the two big favourites, Kilkenny and Tip, had qualified for the final and produced such a good final. Like, it was a great final below Nolan Park. You know, Kilkenny won by 3 points. Mick Fennelly really was the big difference that day. When he played centre forward and scored, I think he scored 2-2 in the first half alone. So, you know, the display between the quality of the hurling between Clare and Cork went unnoticed, you know, generally unnoticed, except for the people who were there. I think everyone came out and said, God, this is brilliant stuff.